This is Action Demolition.
This is Smash.
And you're listening to another wrestling podcast.
It's time for another wrestling podcast.
The measuring stick just changed around here, buddy. You're looking at
the best there is, the best there was, and the best there ever will be.
They think they got the answers. I change the question.
The cream of the crop.
Nobody does it better.
These are the best in the world, brother. These are the best at what they do.
When we talk about the legends of the sport, there's only two in my book.
Another wrestling podcast.
Another wrestling podcast. Now can you dig that, sucker?
All right, everybody, welcome to another wrestling podcast. This is episode 79, and we here at Another Wrestling Podcast would love to wish each and every one of you a very safe and happy Halloween. I'm Jonathan Benjamin.
And I'm Steve Spooky Credo. I don't know.
I begged you. I
had to try something.
Said,
it's Halloween.
Please don't. And
well,
you
nobody
did it
can
anyway.
see my costume right now, so I figured I had to try something Halloweenish.
Well, what are you going as
The
for Halloween?
Invisible Man right now.
I wish you really were the Invisible Man.
Damn it! Well, you know, we're on radio. You can't see us. Kind of, you know, you can just hear us. Either way, well, Jonathan, I got something in store for you. I know I let you down at the beginning of the show, but Jonathan, stay tuned because Axe and Smash Demolition will be on the show today. What says Halloween than a couple of face-painted legends on our show, Jonathan?
Well, I'm glad you brought that up. Typically around Halloween, we try to go a little spooky, a little scary. We talk about, you know, some of the worst moments in wrestling, whether it be injuries or, you know, even hell in the cell, cage matches, blood, all that stuff. But I think you brought it up, so let's go the route of face paint in professional wrestling.
That's it, Jonathan. I mean, you know, face paint has been such a big part of wrestling for years and years. You know, from the missing link to the Ultimate Warrior. Hey, we just said it. Even Axe and Smash, all the way to Jeff Hardy, and today Finn Balor. You know, we'll talk about it all, Jonathan. But before we do, I want to make sure everybody's listening. Head on over to anotherwrestlingpodcast.com. You can check out all of our old episodes, stuff that we have coming up, anything and everything AWP. You can check it out on our website, Jonathan, anotherwrestlingpodcast.com. But Jonathan, you know, the past. The Ultimate Warrior, you know, guys like the Great Muta, Sting, Kamala, you know, all these guys, you know, they all wore face paint. There's a handful of others, but I'm not going to just read a list to you. Jonathan, you know, I mean, do you think it just made their character back then? Because, I mean, you can give anybody a name, but, you know, or you can give anybody a hat or a wig or whatever kind of a costume, but, you know, I don't know, this face paint made the character. What do you think?
I think when it came to these characters, especially back then, there wasn't a lot of, you know, in the U.S., I should say, there wasn't a lot of masks, and these people would go from territory to territory. So I think what they would do is they'd get to certain places and they'd say, hey, we need fans know you as this, so we need to kind of change up your look a little bit. So the best way for them to do that was just kind of throwing some face paint on them. And to be honest, I think that face paint, even though it was a small change, really kind of boosted these people's characters. If you think about the Ultimate Warrior, which you mentioned, picture him without face paint.
Yeah.
And, you know, he's a big guy, and he's still going to be charismatic, but he really wasn't, you know, there really wouldn't have been that much of a draw with a face paintless Ultimate Warrior.
That's it, man. I remember seeing him in some matches when I was a kid, and like where he would just sweat or be in the match too long, and the paint would just come off his face. And I remember laughing because I was like, you know, he doesn't look like himself anymore. Or, you know, I remember he used to look like this teacher I once had, and I was just like, it was funny to me not seeing him in the face paint because it totally, you know, it just removed that curtain from his character, and it just made him a normal guy. And I think the face paint makes the character. I don't know. Was there anyone? What did you like about the face paint, Jonathan? I mean, did you like? I don't know. Did it bring you to the character? Did it make you like them more? Or I don't know. I mean, for me, like you said, the Ultimate Warrior. I mean, that was it. It was the face paint. It was the strands on his arm, and the strands on his legs. I don't even know what to call it, the whatever. But that right there was the Ultimate Warrior. Without that, like you said, without that face paint, I don't know. Was there anything special that you liked about it besides, I don't know, just enhancing the guy?
Well, it definitely gave people a different dimension. I'll be completely honest, as a kid watching wrestling, their look was a main thing. Some people pick football teams by their mascot or what they're wearing or whatever, and probably as a kid, that's probably what I did as well. So I'm thinking of people that had really bright colors. Ultimate Warrior definitely fulfilled that. But one of the first people that I saw that really scared me, I guess, was the Missing Link. And he was basically like George the Animal Steel, but with his face painted. And he was he was truly frightening as a kid to see that. And I think that probably drew me in even more than if he had just been a crazy guy without the face paint,
Sure. I would always wonder because, I mean, I never wrestled. I never wore face paint wrestling. I wore face paint trick-or-treating and stuff like that, but I would always wonder what the negatives were for the wrestlers. I mean, at the top of my head, all I could think of is, it gets in your eye. Does it sting? What kind of paint is it? I don't know. I mean, could there have been any other negatives for the guys besides just it wearing off and getting in your eye? I don't know.
Well, if you listen to the Roddy Piper story of whenever he had went half black for the WrestleMania match against Bad News Brown, that there was a special solvent that was supposed to take that off after the match, but Andre the Giant had threw it out and replaced it with water. So after the match, he came back to try to clean that off, and it would not come off. So he had to literally get on a plane to fly home half black. So I would assume that would probably be a downfall, especially with a locker room full of people who like to pull those kinds of pranks.
No, man, that's pretty ridiculous. What about, there's also been guys who've changed their look but kept it the same. And what I mean by that is, once again, the Ultimate Warrior is my go-to for this, is that, he had the same face paint, but he would change the colors each time. Did you think I thought that's unique because, I mean, you get Sting nowadays. Back then, Sting kind of changed it, but now you get the same Sting over and over. I don't know. Did you think that was good too? Just changing the look, but keeping it the same kind of?
Well, yeah. I mean, I talked about the relatability of characters to the fans. And if you think of John Cena whenever he first started out and he was kind of, thugonomic John Cena, he was coming out in like jerseys of the hometown that he was wrestling in. So if you are a wrestler and you're face painting, it's very easy for you to figure out, I'm in Queens, so I can paint my face like the New York Mets. Or if I'm in, Indiana and I need to look like a Hoosier, then I can paint it, burgundy and white or, whatever. So I think that was pretty cool because really now the only time we see people change up their look is once or twice a year, and one of those being WrestleMania. So everybody goes out and buys new gear or gets new gear for WrestleMania. So if you're painting yourself or whatever, I think it leads you to be able to do that more than just once or twice a year.
Definitely. And guys, coming in the studio right now, we have some of the best face paint on the planet for these two legends. Here comes the Axe, and here comes the Smasher. Axe and Smash the Demolition are joining us right now.
On today's show, we have former three-time WWE Tag Team Champions, two of the toughest wrestlers alive, and quite possibly the greatest tag team ever. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Axe and Smash Demolition. Thank you guys so much for joining us today.
Our pleasure. My pleasure.
Yeah, thanks for having us. Bill, how are you doing? I haven't seen you for a while.
Well, it's you pushed that cold weather from Minnesota down here to Atlanta, and it's chilly. It's in the 50s for us. That's freezing.
Right. Well, we're talking snow tomorrow here.
Oh my God! Keep it up there, Barry.
Well, it's probably going to follow me to Philadelphia on Saturday when we're there.
I know.
Now, many people know you from Demolition, guys, and both of you had great singles careers too before becoming a tag team. So, Barry, which did you enjoy more, being a singles wrestler or working as part of a team?
Part of a team, lot better. Especially when you had a partner like Axe. You kind of, I had to scream and yell at him to get out of the ring so I can get in the ring. So he was a great partner.
Now, Bill, what do you think the hardest part about transitioning from a singles career to a tag career is?
Well, I think you have to be willing to sacrifice a little bit of time in the ring, but it compensates because the longevity. I think Barry and I've talked about this a number of times. You can exist a lot longer with a good partner. And, you can go full speed. If you get tired, you tag in. He goes full speed to get your little bit of respite. So our philosophy was always to blow our opponents up. Make their tongue hang out as far as you could. They'd trip over it, and they'd be able to do anything we wanted.
Now, obviously, Demolition has been, and we think unfairly, compared to many of the other tag teams throughout history. Bill, what do you think made Demolition different from all those other tag teams?
Well, I think that, and I think Barry will tell you the same thing. We've done a number of interviews and that question's come up. I think the fact that we could both wrestle, we could both talk, we didn't need a manager, but we had the advantage of having a manager and good ones periodically. And I think that we had matches with big guys, small guys, guys our size, guys in between. And we weren't afraid to have good matches. We weren't afraid to go out there and put emphasis on having a good match versus emphasis on how good we looked. The better match we had, the better we looked.
Mm-hmm. All right, Barry, what was the tag team scene like during your time in the WWF? Was it highly competitive?
Oh, it was incredible. It was the greatest tag teams ever in wrestling. I mean, from the bottom tag team to the top tag team, there wasn't a whole lot of difference. It was just who got lucky to be in the spot and, who got the crowd behind them. So it was just, it was a great time to have tag team wrestling, and we were just, grateful that we were there at that time.
All right. Now, guys, Demolition had a different look. Masks and face paint made you both very intimidating to your opponents. Now, Bill, you were part of the first Demolition. Whose idea was it to wear the face paint?
Well, I think it was a combination of a number of people. I can't take credit for all that. We tweaked, and even when Barry came, we tweaked our outfits, our appearance. You have to find something that you're comfortable with. And, of course, we were supposed to be the clones of Legion of Doom and all that. And I think we set ourselves apart in the fact that, like I mentioned, we could work with anybody. And both those guys are friends of ours, but they were a little different style. They were pounders and going after people, and people had to feed them. Well, we could work with big guys, small guys. So we tweaked the appearance, we tweaked the outfits, we tweaked our working styles. But the one thing that was always consistent in Barry was always willing to work hard. I'm willing to work hard, and we wanted to have the best match on the card.
And I think a lot of that, too, is a lot of the tag teams, they didn't think we were going to be that good. And then after 6 months of seeing how we were working, pretty soon all the tag teams wanted to work with us because they knew they were going to have good matches. And that's what the whole thing's about, having good matches, and the better matches you have, the better push you get. And, it's just great to be involved in great matches.
Absolutely. Now, we briefly touched on the face paint. Barry, did you enjoy wrestling in the face paint, or was it hard to do? I would imagine that as you sweat, it would get in your eyes. Was that ever a problem with you guys?
No, in fact, I really enjoyed it because, Barry Darsow never made money in wrestling, but when Barry put the face paint on and became Smash and was Axe and Smash, we became a couple of different characters than what ourselves were. So you kind of got into that feeling, and you were a different person when you were Axe and Smash. So for me, I really liked putting the paint on.
Right.
That one little layer of face paint, believe it or not, gives you anonymity. We can wear the paint and be recognized as Axe and Smash. And walking down a hotel or a street, going to a restaurant, especially when we weren't around Fuji, people, they would look at you, they'd say, he looks familiar, they look familiar, but they really couldn't recognize you. And we had our privacy.
Nice.
That's great. Now, you just brought him up. Mr. Fuji was your manager for quite a while, and it's common knowledge that he was quite the prankster. Barry, do you have any good Mr. Fuji stories you can tell us?
Yeah, I really don't have a lot of stories. I mean, we were just lucky to have Mr. Fuji as a manager. He was a very good friend of ours, and he actually would tell us things that we would do right and wrong in the ring and everything. So, it was just great to have Fuji around, and he never ribbed us or anything, and thank God for that, because he did do some pretty terrible ones to some different people. But I really don't want to get into what he did.
Sure. And Bill, do you think that Mr. Fuji was the best manager for you guys, or would you have liked to have worked with somebody else?
Well, no, we requested Fuji. I think everybody remembers that we had Sullivan at the beginning, and not anything against him as a negative, but his personality was more of a jokester and off the wall, out of left field. And with the character that we had, Demolition, our impression when we first came out, our intimidating factor, what we were trying to project, we needed somebody who was more sinister. And the main guy at that time was Fuji, so we asked to have Fuji as a manager, and, they gave him to us, and after that it was a full go.
Sure. Now, guys, with Halloween right around the corner, can you each tell us maybe your scariest moment in the ring? Bill, if you want to start first, do you ever have a scary moment in the ring that, I don't know, something might have happened?
I don't really remember off the top of my head.
All right, no worries.
But according to this time of year, we did have a lot of events that we went to in the Halloween period, and literally hundreds of kids would come dressed as Axe and Smash.
That's great.
Fuji. So I guess that was a compliment,
Of course.
And we're gonna be in Philadelphia this Halloween, so I guess after the matches we're already paid up, we might as well go up and trick or treat, Barry.
Yeah. I'll tell you, one of the scariest things that it could have been for me, and thank God that he was a friend of ours, was when Andre the Giant would stand on your stomach, and thank God he was a friend of ours, and would get off when he knew that you couldn't breathe anymore, because that could have been a scary moment when he's doing stuff like that.
Absolutely. Now, Demolition has always been synonymous with being tough in the ring, pretty smash mouth style. Barry, did anybody ever complain about you guys being maybe too tough on them in the ring?
No, I don't think so. Everybody, we worked very stiff, and we wanted them to work stiff with us. So we did get a lot of potatoes back, but it really didn't bother us too much. That was just a great way to work, and we hoped everybody worked like that.
All right.
Awesome.
Bill, now, who came up with your finishing maneuver, the Demolition decapitation?
Oh, God, I don't actually remember. I know I got drafted into doing the high flying part. But that was good in respects that all I had to do was come off the rope. Barry had to pick up all these guys that sometimes were light and sometimes were very, very heavy. So I guess of the two, I had the best part of the job.
Yeah, but you always got the guy's feet landed on you all the time.
Yeah. One time it was scary, though, when we did it in Oakland with Barry had Martel on the outside. That's pretty steep drop onto the cement floor. So I know I felt that one, I think, as much as Martel probably did.
Well, yeah, and what was so bad was before all that, Vince says, tonight, Bill, why don't you go off the second rope onto the floor? And, it was just like a no big deal. And it's a cement floor, and he's coming, 10 feet in the air, coming down on Martel on my knee. It's like, oh, yeah, no big deal. Just go ahead and do it.
Yeah.
Well, it is absolutely amazing to hear from Axe and Smash. We have plenty more from them coming up. But right now, if you are listening right now and you're enjoying this episode, please get on Twitter and tweet us at @WrestlingPod. Tell us what you like, maybe some of your favorite Demolition memories, and we will be happy to, engage with you guys and talk to you about Demolition or face paint. Maybe who your favorite face painted wrestler was.
Hey, guys, what's going on here?
Hey, who's this?
This is the one and only, the social assassin of the marks, Angry Kuter.
Angry Kuter, man. A little bit of outside interference, I guess. How's it going?
I've been better. I'm still recovering from my birthday, brother.
Your birthday was last month.
Let me put it to you this way. My birthday is a lot like Hell in a Cell. Once you go in, you're never the same again. Yeah.
Well, there you go, man. Oh, well, why we got you here, man? Well, let's get into some recent topics. There's been quite a return of some old faces lately. We saw the Dudleys return a few months ago. We saw this weekend Alberto Del Rio return to capture the United States Championship. What are your thoughts about these old faces returning?
I love it because we seem to be in this transitional phase in WWE right now. A lot of the old-timers are getting their last run with the company. A lot of guys from the outside are either making their way back or debuting for that last hurrah, like Sting. It's great to see the Dudleys back, and I think they're being booked really, really well.
Sure, man. What do you think the long-term effect is this? Because, Del Rio left kind of on bad terms. He was fired. He said he didn't want to go back to work for that racist company, and then boom, one night back, and he's winning the United States Championship. I guess money talks, right?
Money definitely talks, and I was really surprised to see him back at Hell in a Cell. And what makes it even funnier is to see him paired up with Zeb Coulter.
Yeah.
And what drove me absolutely ballistic was on Monday, he was so hesitant to shake his hand because I remember the whole Jack Swagger, Del Rio feud and all the Mexican jokes and the cheap shots at the Mexicans. And now this is who you've decided to pair him with and bring him back on this contract. I think it's just like, it's almost like they brought him back and slapped him at the face at the same time.
I know. It makes me scratch my head, and just to follow up on this a little bit is that, they've been bringing guys from NXT, but before we get to that, they even had Kalisto come up too, and they haven't really pushed him or did anything to make him, the next big Mexican star, and I guess they're realizing they need that Mexican star power, and with Del Rio, do you think he'll fill that void from when Mysterio left and kind of when he left?
Del Rio is a different style than Kalisto and Mysterio. He's more of a technician, but he still has some of that lucha background in him. I think the problem with Kalisto was the fact that they paired him with Botchamania, with Sin Cara. Every time Sin Cara, whether it's the original or the new one, whether it's an entrance or, an in-ring maneuver, he's always messing up, and it's almost like they don't want to book them as a team anymore. So where does that leave Kalisto? That's the problem I feel with a lot of these smaller guys that they're bringing up from NXT, like Neville. Great talent, guy is fantastic, but when you're in the land of the giants, how believable can you be in terms of like getting a belt or being a top guy, because I mean, again, Big Show versus Neville, how would it be believable that Neville goes over on him or Kalisto goes over on him? It's a tough situation.
Well, you just kind of you started talking about the NXT guys, so we mentioned Neville, we mentioned Kalisto, but what are your thoughts on how they're bringing up guys like Tyler Breeze, Adam Rose? Is Tyler Breeze going to suffer a same fate as like Adam Rose? In NXT, everybody loved him, but then he's brought up to the main roster and not so much.
It's hit or miss. I mean, think of other people who've been brought up and who have failed. I mean, Emma is a great example of that. She was so over in NXT with that stupid dancing gimmick, and now where is she? She's back in NXT repackaging. Same with Adam Rose. He was over as hell, and I think he even had a different gimmick before he was Adam Rose down there. And they brought him up, and what happened? It was you were cool for a little bit, and then they just totally dropped the ball, and they put him up against the Bunny. I mean, really, you put him up against the Bunny.
A grown man in a costume. Exactly. How can he take you serious? I got something for both of you guys, though. I'm bringing these guys up. Do you feel there's just somebody backstage that's saying, as good as this guy was in NXT, I kind of want to throw him a curveball, or I kind of want to make it hard on him to maybe have him not succeed as much and see what he does? Or, I mean, I feel like they have a great transition from NXT to WWE, but I feel like they always get hit with some kind of a roadblock, and they just fail every time. I don't know. Do you think it's just somebody backstage not liking it, or what?
Well, classic example of that is Kevin Owens. I mean, how many fat jokes are we going to hear from whoever he's feuding against? I mean, Orton, and then I think Ryback on commentary was making fun of him. It's like, dude, Kevin Owens can work circles around Ryback, and he's talking about his weight. I mean, they gotta stop looking at these wrestlers as bodybuilders when they can perform at high level.
We got to talk a little bit about new things with you, but thanks for stopping by, man. We'll definitely check you out on a future episode or whatnot. We'll talk to you soon, all right?
Sounds good, brother. Thanks for having me.
Guys, and make sure you head on over to youtube.com/anotherwrestlingpod. You can check out all the interviews that we've done on there as well as some other YouTube exclusives, and other things that you might tickle your fancy, they used to say. So head on over to YouTube.
No one said that.
Well, I have
no
good
one ever
sayings.
said that.
I have no good sayings. YouTube.com/anotherwrestlingpod. Subscribe to us, and we'll be best friends.
We just a legal thing. We cannot tell people that we will be their best friends.
We'll like you, but we can't tell you we like you. I don't know. That's not even better.
If we can, will you stop? I guess is the
Would
the
you
way that.
stop?
But you started this whole face painting topic, so it's only fair that I get into this now too. So you talked about the past and touched upon some of the greatest face painted people of all times. I think that there are about 1 million that we didn't talk about, but let's get into today a little bit. So when you think about face painting, I immediately think of a few people that have painted their face here in the past, maybe 5-10 years. So,
but we're talking about the present, though, right?
We are, but I'm saying that is the present to me. We're not talking the 80s, the 90s, whatever. So, is there anybody that you can think of that may have continued the face painting trend and brought it into the 2000s?
It goes back to Jeff Hardy for me for this one. At first he started doing it. It was like, all right, it's different. And then at some point I'm just like, he has to be on like acid or something right now because he's painting his eyeballs. It's totally black light. And now is he doing this for the fans or is he just doing this because he's tripping out backstage? But I mean, Jeff Hardy definitely was unique with it. I think he was probably the first guy of present time that I remember just doing a lot of cool and crazy stuff. Definitely painting the eyelids, closing the eyelids, and all that kind of stuff. So definitely, I don't know. For me, it was Jeff Hardy. I can't really think of anybody else in present time that went as crazy as Jeff Hardy.
We kind of have this new situation where a lot of the people aren't going out with the face paint or anything like that. But I do have to say, in the WWE right now, we have somebody who's kind of revamped it even more. So we're talking Finn Balor. We're talking how he now, not only is he painting his face when he's Demon Finn, but he's also doing the full body paint. So this kind of happened with him. He was in New Japan Pro Wrestling, and it was awesome because not only would he kind of do a face paint and a body paint, but it was also kind of superhero inspired. So I know that he was Venom. I know he did the Joker, a lot of these different things. Obviously, WWE is not going to get into that because of the, legality of that situation.
Sure, yeah.
But what do you think about the full on body paint, face paint thing that Finn does?
It goes to that old saying. He's like, actually, I don't know what the old saying is, but it's, just when you think you can't do any more, he did more. You know what I mean? So it's like, how much more could you do with paint or face paint or whatever? And Prince Devitt, Finn Balor did just that. Because if you take away the face paint and body paint that he did, he would just be Prince Devitt or Finn Balor or whatever back, before he went to WWE. Okay, he's a good wrestler, but that body paint put him on the map, made him stand out above and beyond anybody else. Granted, he's a great wrestler, a talented guy, but with that paint, it just definitely put a few more notches in his belt of being more marketable, being more, who's this guy with the body paint? People wanted to search for him, search for his matches, just to see what he would wear next. And that was great about him. I'm kind of disappointed with NXT right now. I get it, to where they kind of want to stretch out his characters and maybe stretch out the different paint that he'll do. But at the same time, I'm like, that was his thing, man. Every time he came out, it was different, and I love that. Like I said, don't email us or send us hate mail being like, well, he only does this for whatever. I like I said, I get it. I understand why, and I know that they're going to save it, and that maybe when he does go to the main roster, that he'll switch it every year or maybe every few months. Who knows? But for now, it's good for NXT. But I think, Jonathan, if you take away all of his talent and whatnot, that body paint is what made him stand out above the rest.
Well, and if you think about another current wrestler who's got a face paint job going right now, is somebody who was kind of getting lost in the shuffle there for a little bit. A great talent, but nonetheless kind of getting overlooked, and that is none other than Stardust right now. He used to be Cody Rhodes, and he had a good thing going, but he was dashing Cody Rhodes and all of that. But really, he's kind of taken it to a new level with Stardust. He's even with the Ascension, another face-painted group of wrestling. So I don't think face paint is going anywhere in the ways of professional wrestling, but it is getting pretty elaborate. The Usos even used to, paint their faces. One of them's injured, so they're out right now. But I think that it's a cool thing. It's just a little bit extra. It kind of helps with that character.
Sure.
But Steve, I'm going to ask you, you probably see this coming. It is Halloween. Who is your favorite face-painted wrestler of all time? And then who do you think had the creepiest face paint of all time?
Man, so kind of like favorite, I mean, man, I'm going to have to split it with two, because back then it's definitely the Ultimate Warrior for what it was. And today it goes to Finn Balor. I mean, of all time, I know it's hard to pick between the two, but just from when he was doing all the different face paints, body paints and whatnot, I thought that was awesome. That's what made me look into him and find out who this guy was about, was just because of his body paint. I never saw a Prince Devitt match before that, until I found out about this guy wearing body paint kind of thing and checked him out himself. So definitely Finn Balor, tied with the Ultimate Warrior. And the creepiest, Jonathan, it's got to go to, the Boogeyman. That's probably the creepiest, face paint I've seen. Touch it up with a little bit of worms, and it completes the ensemble.
Okay, all right.
But what do you got, Jonathan? I mean, is there anybody that's your favorite or creepiest or what?
I'm going to talk about somebody that I probably have not talking about at all on this show, but Hakushi is the person that I'm going with my favorite paint because it was the precursor to the body paint. You know, he had it on his face, all these Japanese symbols, and it went, on his body everywhere. So it was really cool. I think that is probably underrated in the ways of face and body paint goes, but he was a great talent, had some amazing matches against the likes of Bret Hart, even though I begrudgingly say that. And probably the worst, I guess I shouldn't say worst, creepiest for me is probably going to be Goldust, when he first entered into the WWE, because it was just very creepy, and it only got creepier whenever he teamed up with another face-painted person, Luna Vachon, and he, kind of in the Attitude Era, they were trying to push the envelope, and he definitely came out with some odd, creepy creations.
Sure, and Jonathan, right before we get back to Axe and Smash, I want to say, if you could pick any wrestler today to give them face paint to change their look up, who would it be?
I'm going to say, and it only makes sense because he's already a creepy person, is Bray Wyatt. I'd like to see some face paint thrown on Bray Wyatt. And there wouldn't be a lot because he's got that ginormous beard, but it would definitely be cool to see him do something kind of creepy with face paint. What about you?
Ryback, and here's my thing with Ryback. I don't hate him. I don't like Ryback the way he is now, but to fix Ryback, all you need to do is give him some face paint and pretty much make him look like the Ultimate Warrior. Not saying he needs the same gimmick, but, give him face paint, let him run to the ring and not walk to the ring. Make him shake the ropes, make him just speak in stupid sentences that don't make sense, like rocket ships and fuel and whatever. And right there, you fix Ryback. That's it. He doesn't need to be what he is now. Just slap some face paint on him, and I think you have almost an Ultimate Warrior 2.0. Granted, nobody could ever replace the Ultimate Warrior, but still, that's all that I think about every time he comes out, of how much better he could be if you just gave him some face paint, some tassels on the arm, and make him run to the ring, not walk. But that's just me.
All right. While you at home are putting on your face paint and listening to another wrestling podcast, get ready, because we have plenty more to hear about from Axe and Smash Demolition.
Now, guys, this past year we saw the Bushwhackers get inducted into the WWE Hall of Fame, and I might speak for everybody here, but I think it's about time we see Demolition take the rightful place. Barry, when do you think Demolition is going to be taking their place in the Hall of Fame? Do you think it's about time, overdue?
Boy, I don't know what's happened with that. It sure would be great to get in there, but there's so many great tag teams and everything, and you never know what's going to happen. And, Bill always says, the only way we're going to get in the Hall of Fame is we'll have to buy a couple of tickets to go.
Well, I think you guys wouldn't be waiting too long. Hopefully we'll get you in sooner than later.
Now, you guys both, you get to see that certain people induct people into the Hall of Fame. Who do you think would be the best to induct Demolition into the Hall of Fame?
Oh God, I don't even have an idea of who would be good. I thought Fuji would have been, but Fuji's health's not very good at this time.
Yeah.
And like Barry said, we have no control over that, whether we get in or whether we don't get in. I mean, it'd be nice if we were recognized, but neither one of us are going to lose sleep if we don't, simply because we know in our hearts that we did the best we could do. And fans tell us all the time that they appreciate it. So, it's just a footnote.
Mm-hmm.
Now, you kind of mentioned it. Do you think there's any other tag teams that you think deserve to be in the Hall of Fame that you guys worked with?
Oh God, yes. The Bulldogs. I don't know if Martel and I think Tito's in it, but is Martel in them? See, I don't really know who's all in or not.
Yeah, I don't even know, but some of the greatest tag teams, Ray Stevens and Pat Patterson way back then.
Mm-hmm.
There's teams from a long time ago that were just incredible.
Mm-hmm. Now, guys, Axe and Smash were not the only members of Demolition. What did you guys think of Crush? Was he a good fit into Demolition when he came in?
Well, he was thrust into the situation because I had a health scare there for a period of time. Had allergic reaction to shrimp dinner I had, and Crush was a good friend of ours. It's just sad that he passed so young, and he was thrust into a situation where he wasn't going to be able to be successful. There was always Axe and Smash, and they knew us, and they knew how we operated in our interviews. And Brian was younger and less experienced. He gave it 150%, but he just was in a situation that he could not be successful, and it wasn't because of him. We were already there and established, and he was trying to take the place of one guy. So, he tried his best, and we have fond memories of being around him and traveling with him, and it's just sad that he's not here.
Mm-hmm. Barry, any thoughts?
Yeah, he was, a great friend of ours, and if he wasn't on the Demolition and he came in and was just a single worker in there, he would have got a big push and he would have been great. But like Bill was saying, it's how do you take Axe and Smash and all of a sudden one of them are out and another one's in at the same time. It just it couldn't be replaced. Mm-hmm. And he was put into a really tough position, and I'll tell you, he did a really good job, though. And like I say, he was a good friend of ours, and we sure do miss him.
Mm-hmm. All right, guys. Well, before we wrap this up, we got a few more questions, but we want to promote you guys. This Saturday, October 31st, the Keystone Championship Wrestling presents Slam-O-Ween, where they can meet Axe and Smash, Demolition. It's going to be at the Edward Bacon Center in Darby, Pennsylvania. Guys, you can head on over and pick up your tickets at the show. You can go to KeystoneWrestling.com or by phone at 484-764-3635. Guys, what's the greatest part about, meeting your fans at shows like this?
Well, we get an opportunity. Before, we never got an opportunity to sit and chat with people. And it's nice to listen to them reminisce about something that was important to them. And I'll tell you what we'll do for the fans there. Everybody that comes dressed as Axe and Smash, we'll give them a free 8x10.
Awesome.
Well, that sounds like a plan.
How's that, Smash?
I like it. That sounds good. There's probably going to be a lot of fans dressing up like us, too.
Yeah, we can draft a couple of them, put them in the ring, and we can just sneak out the back door.
I think that's the greatest idea ever. We don't even have to get in the ring.
Well, it's definitely thoughts like that made you guys tag team greats. I think probably the greatest of all time. But where do you guys think that Demolition ranks as far as tag teams?
Well, we're number one.
Yeah, I think that we're just to be mentioned, to do these podcasts, to do these interviews, it means that we had some success and we made an imprint on people and people are interested in wrestling. So, we appreciate the fans. We appreciate you guys that interview us and keep us alive, our name out there. And, it's hard to rank 1, 2, 3, or 4. Barry and I often talk. There's probably 100 million people over in Europe and in Asia, that don't even know who Demolition or anybody is. So to be important here in the United States or in Europe or South America is important to us.
Yeah, it's like a lot of times the fans will come up when you're signing autographs and say, who is your favorite team? Well, we're our favorite team. Right, Bill?
Oh, yeah. Oh, and then the next thing you say, I used to like you guys. What do you mean, used to?
Now, Barry, are there any tag teams out there today, maybe, that you think could have given Demolition a run for their money?
No, I haven't really been watching a whole lot of wrestling, so I don't know. I think what would have been great was if we could have wrestled Austin and The Rock. That would have been a good one, huh, Bill?
Yeah. I'm the same as Barry. I get up so early in the morning I teach school, and I've got to get up at 4:30. So for me to be up late is a trial, and I don't get a chance to watch wrestling. And fans come up and they talk about this guy, that guy, and after a while you lose contact with the people that are on the big companies, and you don't really know them, so
sure.
It's hard to judge.
Sure.
Now, like we said, we're winding down. We don't want to take too much more of your time, but do you guys maybe have one accomplishment in the ring that you guys think is your greatest accomplishment that you've had?
Oh my, that's like asking a guy that has 5 kids which one he loves the best.
It's hard to say because there's so many things that it was great.
Yeah, we had the opportunity, really, and it's not just BS, to work with some fantastic opponents, and just to choose 1 or 2 or 3, you'd be leaving out a dozen. I think just being able to have the longevity and the popularity that we had, and maybe when people mention about the championship duration, when you're in the forest, you don't see the trees. So we weren't even aware how long we had the belt. We just wanted to be the champions for as long as possible. And it turned out to set a record.
Yeah, and what's funny is, you go out and you're getting ready to wrestle the Bulldogs, and you have a match, and at the end of the match, the people go nuts, and it's one of the greatest matches you've had. You come back in the locker room, and you're all excited and everything. You say, "God, I'm not going to have a match better than that ever again," And then the next night, you're wrestling the Hart Foundation, and the same thing. You go, "Holy cow, it's the best match we're ever going to have." Then the next night, you have another one and another one. It's like every night you have the greatest match you've ever had. That's what's fun.
Definitely.
Yeah.
It's been a real honor to speak with you tonight. Once again, you out there, everybody listening, you can meet Axe and Smash this weekend, Halloween night. For all the information, head on over to ESSpromotions.com. Guys, it was a pleasure talking with you, and we really appreciate it.
Good talking to you, too.
All right, and if you're listening to our show, check out all of our friends on these other great shows.
That's right, Steve. We have our friends over at pwpnation.com.
That's right. Be sure to check out exclusive articles, wrestling news, and other wrestling podcasts such as AWP. Also, be sure and stop on over to Main Event Marks on Facebook.com/Main Event Marks. You can check them out every Thursday at 9 p.m. hosted by Angry Kuter, where, fans talk wrestling live on a webcam. So be sure you check them out every Thursday at 9 p.m.
And if you still have a hankering for more wrestling and just general debauchery, I suggest going over to The Joe Cronin Show. You can check him out on youtube.com/Joe Cronin Show.
Once again, thanks to ESS Promotions. Head on over to ESSpromotions.com. With over 30 years of experience, ESS Promotions has become one of the largest talent agencies in professional wrestling today. Well, that's the show. We want to thank each and every one of you for listening today.
Every week we do this show free of charge for you, the fans.
If you're wondering, how can I repay these guys? Well, we have just one thing.
Subscribe to us on iTunes.
While you're there, be sure to rate us and give us a good review. Huh?
So that's more than one thing, but if you're looking for more information about AWP, then head on over to anotherwrestlingpodcast.com.
We are all over social media, and you can find us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, and more.
Gosh, we've got a lot going on, but if you are an AWP superfan, you can also show your support by going over to ProWrestlingTees.com and buying one of our official AWP shirts.
We couldn't do the show without each and every one of you, so tune in next week for
Another Wrestling Podcast.